Hello, I'm Catherine Randall and I'm a time tunneler. This week we want to commemorate Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, who, as you'll all know, sadly died early this month at the age of 96. As a nation, we said goodbye to her at her state funeral on Monday. In among all the wonderful tributes and the stories people have been sharing about meeting her, you might have heard it said that when she was born, no one expected her to be the Queen. Her grandfather was the king. He was King George V. But her father was the king's second son, and so he wasn't expected to inherit the throne. That was supposed to go to his older brother. So while Princess Elizabeth was born a princess, life in her family was perhaps a bit more relaxed than it might have been if her father was expecting to inherit the throne. And quite a few things in her life are things that we can relate to ourselves. Obviously, her childhood was never going to be completely normal because, as I said, her grandfather was the king. She used to call him Grandpa England. But her father wasn't expecting to be king himself, so life was a bit more normal. And like lots of little children, she really wanted a dog. Apparently, a friend of theirs had a Welsh Corgi, a Pembroke Corgi, and she decided she wanted one. She must have been thrilled when her father brought one home for her when she was 7. This is a picture of Princess Elizabeth with their first corgi, which was called Dookie. The Duke of York, Elizabeth's father, brought him home for the family as a family pet, and soon he was joined by another dog called Jane. Apparently, Dookie was very badly behaved and merrily bit courtiers and visitors alike. Here's a lovely picture of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, that's Princess Elizabeth's mother, and Princess Elizabeth with Dookie and Jane in 1936. By this time, her beloved grandfather, George V, had died, and her uncle had ascended the throne as Edward VIII. But this is where Princess Elizabeth's life really changed. Her uncle Edward wanted to marry an American lady called Mrs. Wallis Simpson, but although he was the king, the government didn't want him to marry her because she was twice divorced, and that in those days was considered unacceptable for a king. So Edward VIII abdicated the throne. He stepped aside from the throne, and Elizabeth's father became the king instead. Now I've got something quite interesting to show you here. This is a book called The Big Christmas Wonder Book, which was published in 1936. And inside is a special colour section depicting the coronation of Edward VIII. But as I've just said, this had never actually happened. So these pictures are commemorating something that never happened. In fact, Elizabeth's father, who became King George VI, was crowned on the same day that King Edward VIII would have been crowned. But this is a souvenir of something that didn't actually happen. So after the Edward VIII abdicated and Elizabeth knew that she was going to be the Queen one day, she was still very keen on her dogs. And during the war in 1944, for her 18th birthday, she was given another dog. This dog was called Susan. And all the Queen's corgis that she had for the rest of her life were descended from this first dog, Susan, who lived to the ripe old age of 14. The Queen loved corgis for the rest of her life, and she had lots and lots of them over the course of her reign. So for your writing challenge this week, remembering that Princess Elizabeth didn't know that she was going to inherit the throne until she was 10, I want you to imagine that you've just learned that you're going to inherit the throne, that you're going to be king or queen, and think what you might do when you become king or queen. As you probably know, Princess Elizabeth loved horses all her life too. And apparently when she was little, she said that when she was queen, there would be no riding on Sundays because horses needed a rest too. What laws would you like to bring in? Maybe you think you'd like to hold lots of parties for children at Buckingham Palace. Maybe you think that schools ought to give out chocolate every single Friday. What would be some of the fun things that you would do if you became the king or queen? I hope you enjoy thinking about this and enjoy thinking about Queen Elizabeth II, the longest reigning monarch in British history.